Can you all see the welcome screen?
Yes.
Awesome. So welcome. You made it to the right place if you're here to learn about Google Suites. Thank you all for joining us on this evening and appreciate your time being here. So we'll go ahead and start off with some quick intros of our speakers. That's me and my dog Fig Newton. I'm Sarah Clark, she, her pronouns. I'm a Capricorn, hiker, basset hound enthusiast, and lead organizer here with the Colorado Sierra Club. Excited to be here with y'all tonight. Alexis, you want to go next?
Sure. So hi, my name is Alexis. I'm a political organizer with the Colorado Sierra Club. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I enjoy hiking, exploring. Also, I'm a member of the Colorado Mycological Society, so I like to do things like hunt mushrooms. You can see me there at the Sawhill Ponds with some oyster mushrooms. And yeah, so glad to be with you all today, and thanks for joining.
Hey everyone, my name is John Biggerstaff. I'm the volunteer coordinator for the Colorado chapter. I see some faces I recognize and some I don't, so it's good to meet you. Thanks for coming. And it's a picture of me, and I'm in a wetsuit because I'm getting ready to swim in a triathlon in St. George, Utah. And the water temperature was somewhere in the upper 50s. And it was really, really cold. That's really all I remember from that day, but I like that picture. Thanks for coming.
Awesome. Alexis, you want to lead the icebreaker?
All right, so for our icebreaker, we'd like to hear something that you're looking forward to post-pandemic. And it can be anything big or anything small. So one thing that comes to mind to me to start us off is I'm looking forward to being able and more free to go in grocery stores and pick out the good looking produce, and also being able to bring my own bags into the store. So those are some things I'm looking forward to. And I'm going to popcorn it to Peggy.
Me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm looking forward to traveling. I've been stuck at home for over a year, and home is not a bad place, but I just like to go somewhere.
The world might seem like a bigger place after all of this, being in our homes. And if you'd want to pass it to someone.
Who's John?
Thanks, Peggy. There's a lot of things I'm looking for. I would say live music. I don't go to that many concerts, maybe 6 to 8 per year, I would think, but I was surprised how much I miss doing that. So it's definitely something I'm looking forward to. I saw that Red Rocks was going to have at least 25% capacity in early summer. So I think we'll have some of that soon, but it'll probably be a while before it's back to actual capacity, but I'm definitely looking forward to that. And who's next? I got below me. How about Scott? You want to go next?
Yeah, I'll chime in on that. I'm looking forward to some rock and roll, some bluegrass, some reggae. I miss that stuff. You know, I'm wondering when it's really going to get back to normal. It'll be a while after vaccines are around. You know, I see people in bars. I don't go into bars, but I see a lot of people going in there, and they're all like elbow to elbow with their party of friends. And seems like a lot of unnecessary exposure to me. So we'll see how far out past vaccination supply outweighing demand we got to go. And I'll popcorn it to Jerry.
Well, I not only know what I'm looking forward to, I scheduled it today. And that's specifically, I'm getting my second vaccination on Monday the 5th, which means on the 19th, I should have my immunity, and I am going to use public transit that day to come downtown to the Alliance Center, and I'm going to hang out in the coffee bar there for a while and say hello to all the people I know there. Of course, I'll have a mask on because not everyone's been vaccinated, but I will finally feel comfortable doing that. And I have missed both public transit and the Alliance Center. And let me kick it over to, hang on just a second. Let me kick it over to Ramesh.
Hello. I don't know. I mean, a lot of things, but I guess one thing that I really am looking forward to is visiting my family in India. Of course, I've not been able to travel for a long time, so look forward to that. Let's see. I can't see everybody. Let me pass it on to Lisa.
Thank you. I'm also looking forward to traveling, because the last place I went was over a year ago, and that was to India, and it was quite an adventure. But another trip to Red Rocks would be great. And I am not looking forward to going to the grocery store, and my grocery store allows me to bring my bags, which I love. So that's not going to be a highlight for me. And I'm going to pass it over. I have a couple of friends on here. But the first one I saw come up was Ann Brower, so I'm going to pass it over to her.
I'm looking forward to traveling to see my grandchildren in Idaho. Not quite as far as India, but it will be a delight to see them once again. I've missed a whole year of them. And I'll pass it to Teresa.
I'm like you, Ann. I really want to see my family in California, and I have some little ones that were only 4 years old and are now 5 years old, and I feel like I've lost some good bonding time with my little nieces and nephews. So I'm really looking forward to getting back with them. And you know, one of the things I actually would like to do is get together with all my Sierra Club friends, because for a whole year now, I've been meeting quite often with a lot of people, and I've become friends, and I've actually never met any of them in person. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing everybody in person. And I came on a little bit late. I'm sorry about that. Has John, have you already answered?
I did.
Okay. How about Jerry?
I have also, but I don't think that Sarah has.
Yep, I can go next.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks. I'm also looking forward to traveling. I really, I had a trip planned to go to Spain right before or I guess right after the pandemic kind of hit here. So had a vacation postponed for a long time, and have a really big family that I haven't been able to see much this past year. So really looking forward to seeing them and reconnecting after all this time. I think our last person is Susan.
Hi, I've actually enjoyed the quiet of the pandemic, because I'm retired and we had been doing some heavy traveling, and I enjoyed just being able to stay home and catch up with things. But I am looking forward to seeing all the family that's out of state. We have a big family also, and it'll be a joy to hug them again. That's what's happening here. And I think that's everybody, isn't it?
That's everyone, I think.
Okay.
If I missed anybody, let me know. But thank you all for sharing. I think we're all looking forward to a post-pandemic world, and seeing what everything looks like, when we can get back to being together in person. But yeah, I'm going to move us into our agenda for today. Here is a realistic picture of my cat. So today we're going to go over our intros. We just did that. We all got a minute to get to know each other. We're going to get you set up with a Google account if you don't already have one. We're going to be going over the basics of how to use Google Docs, Google Sheets, and Google Calendar. And then we're going to leave questions and answers for the end. There's a lot that we're going to be covering, and we could spend a lot of time diving into everything. But if we do all of the questions throughout, we might not be able to get through the whole presentation. So I ask if you all could just try to leave those questions or write them down so we can touch on them at the end. That would be great. And now I'm going to pitch it over to my friend Alexis. I'll stop sharing my screen.
All right, hi everyone. I'm gonna share my screen. Okay, we're getting there. Okay, can everyone see my screen? All right. So for our first, we're gonna set up our Google accounts. That way we can all see the same things and follow along. And also we're gonna do a demo where you can kind of interact with Google Docs. And so to start, please go to the link that's, and also maybe Sarah or John, if you wouldn't mind copying and pasting the link into the chat box. Thanks. And so you're going to create your Google account by going to that link. And please let me know if you have any difficulties accessing it.
If you already have an account, do you need to do this?
You don't. Oh, so this is for folks who don't already have a Google account. And you can create your Google account using an email address that you already have, or you can choose to create a Google email. And that's where you see people have at the end. It's at gmail.com. If you want one of those, you can create a Google email, or if not, you can use an email address that you already use. So if anyone needs any help, feel free to reach out or type in the chat box. And also after you've created your Google account, if you could signify in the chat that you created it or that you already have one. Okay, so it looks as though, just reading the chat box. Okay, so I believe that we all have Google accounts. Let me know if anyone is still creating theirs or needs one. Oh, okay, great. A Google Suites account. That's what we'll be using today. Okay, so I think that's everyone. Please let me know if we still need to create one. So in our next slide, okay, so about Google Docs. So some of the uses for Google Docs are for uses like word processing. So it's very similar to Microsoft Word in its functions. Some of those functions include making suggestions for changes, accepting or rejecting suggestions for changes. Also, collaborating on a written product or a written document. And so using Google Docs, you can view who made which suggestions and changes, also at what time people made those suggestions and changes, so that you know how recently those changes were made too. And you can also make comments on the document. And so Some of the special features of Google Docs, how it differs from, say, Microsoft Word, is that you can collaborate in real time with your co-editors. So you'll be able to use it at the same time, making changes. So there's not a need for one person at a time to review a document and say, save those changes and email it to the next person. Everyone can have the same product all at once and make changes. And that way everyone's up to date on the most recent version of a doc. Another special feature of Google Docs is that the changes made to a document are saved automatically. So there's not a need to manually save any changes that you're making to a doc. So I think we've all been there where, like, say in Microsoft Word, we forget to save for a while and we've got something all typed out and we've gotten it how we want it to, and then the computer restarts or something happens and then lose the doc. Well, with Google Doc, it saves it automatically. And that way, even if you get disconnected, you'll have that document saved. And I'll also indicate where on Google Docs you'll see that it has saved your document. Another special feature of Google Docs is that you have the ability to revert back to any previous version of the document. So you don't need to have multiple versions of the document. Say if you wanted to go a different direction with the document and you'd been working on it and you'd said, you know, I think it was on Sunday or Friday that this document was looking really good. I want to go back to that version and restore it and start from where I had it there. That's an option too with Google Docs, just another function of it. And so some examples of some uses for a Google Doc is, say you are creating an agenda for a meeting and you want to invite your group members to add topics for discussion on this document. You can share it with them and people can drop that into the document without having to email you and requesting, can this be added? Or say if you're working on a letter to the editor, you can ask people to look over and make any suggestions for changes that they might want to make. And you can see that they have viewed it. You can see where they have made changes. That way you can compare what the document looked like and what it currently looks like. You can preview what it looks like if you were to accept those changes that a collaborator makes. And so, all right. So, and if everyone has their Google Drive open or their Google accounts, and let me know if I can help with locating it. But you're gonna look at the top right of your screen in your Google account, and you're gonna find that Rubik's Cube looking shape at the top right corner. So it's a 3x3 dotted shape. And so you're gonna go there. And I know we probably have lots of screens open if you're like me, have a lot of screens. So I'll just give us a moment to find this, to locate it. So it's the top right corner. And then you're going to look at that little menu that appears when you click it. And it's a colorful triangle, and that's the drive. It might not be in the exact position on your screen, but it's that colorful triangle, the drive. And so let's see, maybe a thumbs up if folks have it.
Hey, Alexis, really quickly, are we still on slide 5 for this?
On slide 7, can you see it? Or am I on there?
Yeah, we're still showing slide 5 on our end.
Okay, thanks. Oh. Does it show slide 7?
Nope, it's still showing slide 5.
Okay, thanks. Let's see.
There you go.
Hang on, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen really quick. Oh,
I think that works. I think it was just delayed a little bit. We're on slide 7 now.
oh yeah, okay. Okay. All right. So are we in the Google Drive? Maybe a thumbs up. Okay, I'm seeing some thumbs up. Okay. Oops. We just. All right. So then the way that you create a Google Doc is you find on the left side, there's the, oh, I'm seeing the comment box, chat box. Oh, okay. All right, so then on the left side, you're gonna find that plus icon where it says new. And that's how we're gonna create our new doc. And it's kind of cool to poke around in there because some of these things, you know, they've been there and you say, oh, just once you get in there, there's just all these different things. So now that we've created our new doc, all right, so we're gonna do a demo or example activity. And if you could join me at that link in the slide. And are we seeing slide, the demo example activity?
Yes.
Okay, oops. And is everyone able to click it? Or maybe Sarah or John, if you could copy and paste the link in the chat, please.
Just pasted it into chat.
Great, thanks. Okay, so we're on the demo doc. And yeah, so I see that you all are collaborators or that you're able to access it because I see these colorful icons at the top. And that lets me know that there are other people viewing it. So the first thing that we're gonna wanna do is name our Google Doc. So here, until you title it, it'll show up as untitled. And so it'll still save automatically, but it'll just say untitled. So we're going to want to give it a name. And also, if you've already begun typing in the document, you know, say this is what I've typed. If I hadn't already titled it, that's what would show up in the name. So it just kind of takes your first text of the document and puts it up there. Okay, so then we add collaborators. To do that, we go up here to this share button. And also for anyone who isn't on the screen, the next slides also guide us through each of these different activities that we're doing. So we're gonna go up here to the share button. It's the bright blue button in the top right. And then this comes up. So we're going to go, so there's some different options here. If you want to share it with a specific person, you can type in their email address up here and add them that way. And then also you can copy the link for the document. And right now the option is anyone on the internet with this link can edit it. If we wanted to change that, what the link allows people to do, we go to the change here. And so because I'm a part of an organization, it already puts this here for me. But we could say that, okay, anyone with the link can access it, or restricted means that you're only sharing it with certain people through their email address. And so another way to kind of customize your permission and your sharing is right now anyone with the link can edit. You can also select different kinds of access. You can say that anyone with the link can view and can only view, or they can both view and comment, or they can view, comment, and edit. So each of those options kind of builds on each other. This is the viewer is the least amount of access, the commenter, and then the editor is the most access. They can actually go in there and make changes. So now that we've selected the sharing permissions, we would copy the link. Done. And now if I just do paste, that's the link that we have. So I'll just show you here. We have that link ready to share now. Okay, so then make comments is the next part. So if we want people to be able to give their feedback, this is a function that we're going to use. So up here at the top, and it's a kind of a small button. It's the add comment, like a speech bubble with a plus on it. And we're going to click there. Oh. So you can do this, say, I want to make a comment. And then also feel free to test this out in some of the sample text below. So you can highlight any part of the text and press that add comment. And then you can kind of make little suggestions throughout the document that way. Yeah, so if y'all would want to try to add a comment on the sample text. And it's that add comment button up here. And first you have to highlight some text. All right, so I see we're getting some comments. Some good suggestions. All right, so it looks like most everyone found that comment function. And so next, what we're going to do is explore the accept or reject function. So, or we just solve it. So once we've seen the comment, we can resolve it. So okay, so I've seen this comment. I'm going to resolve it. Okay. Resolve this. So I've seen over it. So okay. That's kind of how that goes. Just accept to let people know that we've seen it. Good point, Scott. Commercial logging. Okay. Also some more things that we want to see happen. Public lands only. Sense of urgency. Yeah. Define bold action. So yeah, so that way we can acknowledge to our collaborators that we've seen their input on the document. And so then another thing that we can do too is if we want to make some suggestions for edits, like actually saying what we want it to be without actually changing the document, we can make edit suggestions. So to do that, it's below the blue share button. It's instead of editing, we'd share suggesting. And now anything that we write, it's going to show us what we did different. So and yeah, so if we want to go in there and try that, just kind of explore it. So it's suggesting mode. All right. Yeah, so this is really neat. Get to see folks' contributions to what they want it to look like without actually changing it. So this is really good so that way we don't need to have the original version side by side next to an edited version. That allows us to see the comparison and be able to review them and accept or reject them as we go through it. Yeah, so thanks everyone for finding, exploring that function. So to either incorporate these suggestions or to decline them, there's that check mark or X mark. And yeah, so each of these, we would go through them and either click the check or the X. So let's see what happens when we do that. Let's go Nuggets. Okay, so if we go here, oh, okay, we've accepted it. So it's been added to the document. Or say someone made a suggestion, okay, I'll attach the doc. So we delete that. Okay. So we're gonna accept that and it's in there now. And Google will send a notification to that person to their email that their suggestion has been accepted, rejected, resolved. It'll give them an update. That way they know how you've interacted with someone's suggestion. All right, so let's see. And then also, so it looks like we've lost number 5, but because we want to know what that was, we can go up to here, last edit. So see up here where it says last edit was made. We can go up to here, open the version history, and go to a previous version and find out what that number 5 was. So we go to here. Okay, so previous version. I can see how it did display. So I'm going to go back. There's an arrow here. And go back. And here we go. So that's number 5. So we looked at how to restore a previous doc version. Okay, so attaching the document to an email. Okay, so this is probably one of the most useful functions in my opinion, being able to create an email and then attaching it. So to do that, we're gonna open another tab and we're gonna find the Rubik's Cube again and go to Gmail, or we get our email up. Oh, not that one. Okay. So we've just opened up our email account there. So to share it, we're going to get the document link. So this share button again. And copy the link. So now we've got our shareable link. And Then we go to compose the email. Okay, so we can do several things to share the document. We can hyperlink it, and I think, Peggy, you had asked about this. So we select the text that we want to appear as a link, and then we go moving some screens around. Okay. So hyperlink our text, and then find the insert link button. So it looks like the second paperclip. So go there, and then we paste our link in that field. But I'm just now seeing the chat. Okay, so that's one way to share the link. Another one is we can copy and paste it. Or one last way of sharing it is that we can go to that triangle at the bottom and find that file. It would display over here, and then we would press this blue insert button. So I think I have to wrap up here for John's next slide, but let's see. Okay, and there we go. So that's the attaching a doc to an email, and that wraps up our Google Docs section, and I'm gonna hand it off to John. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen.
Okay, my turn.
Yes.
All right. So let me share my screen. It's always tricky when you're sharing your screen, I feel like. Okay. One desktop. Okay. The right slide here. Okay, can everyone see that okay? Great. So today, of course, my Zoom panel is right in my way. See if I can move this. Oh, there we go. All right, so today I'm talking about Google Sheets. So Google Sheets is just what Google calls their spreadsheet software. You might be more familiar with Microsoft Excel. It's very similar to Microsoft Excel. But Google Sheets allows you to organize, edit, and analyze different types of information using spreadsheets. While you might think spreadsheets are only used by certain people to process complicated numbers and data, they can actually be used for a variety of everyday tasks, whether you're starting a budget, planning a garden, or creating an invoice, or just about anything else you can think of. Spreadsheets are a great way to organize information. And this definitely speaks to me. I use Google Sheets all the time for everything, not only in work, but also just in my everyday life. If I'm making a grocery list or a workout plan, I have Sheets for pretty much everything. And like Google Docs, Google Sheets makes it easy to collaborate with others and build and edit spreadsheets together. So a lot of the features that Alexis was just going over with Google Docs also exist in Google Sheets. And that's, in my opinion, one way that it separates itself from Microsoft Excel is it has that really collaborative element. All right, so creating a new spreadsheet, feel free to do this on your own if you'd like to, but it's pretty simple. It's very similar to creating a new document. So when you're in your Google Drive, all you have to do is click New, which is, I believe, is on the upper left, and select Google Sheets from the drop-down menu. That's one way to do it. You can also go to that same little Rubik's Cube that's in the top right and click that and open Google Sheets from there. There's a couple different ways you can start. So again, you just go click New and then click Google Sheets. All right, I'm going to open a spreadsheet in just a minute, but I wanted to share a couple things. You might notice there's no save button. That's because Google Drive uses autosave, which automatically and immediately saves your files as you edit them. So same thing that happens in Docs happens in Google Sheets. I don't know if any of you remember the times when you'd have a really complicated document or a spreadsheet, you'd forget to save it and you would lose everything. So these days it doesn't happen with Google. Everything is saved in the cloud automatically, so you shouldn't have to worry about that. And your sheet will be saved in your Google Drive alongside Google Docs, slides, any other files you're working on. So if you accidentally exit out a doc or a sheet that you're working on, if you haven't named it, it will be called Untitled Spreadsheet by default, and it'll be in your drive called Untitled Spreadsheet by default as well. So that same drive has all kinds of different files in there, whether it's a sheet or whether it's a document. Those really all are in one place, and they're typically, by default at least, they're ordered by the frequency, the recency in which you use them. So when you click your drive, you'll see all the things you're recently working on, whether it's a spreadsheet or a document. But let me get out of here. Actually, I might have one more. Yeah, let me get out of here, and I want to open up a spreadsheet quickly. This is just one I just put together really quickly. I called phone call tracking, and I just wanted to show you just some of the basics. I'm definitely not a Google Sheets wizard. There's people out there that can do all kinds of amazing things with Google Sheets and Excel. The programming language behind this is JavaScript. So if you're a programmer, you can get in here and make it do just all sorts of stuff. But I'm a pretty basic user, so most of the features I use are pretty simple. But up here, we have that same kind of area where that's where you would name your document. So I called this one phone call tracking. Of course, you can change that at any time. So now I'm calling it phone call tracking 1. And this is the basic layout. So it looks very similar to what if you're familiar with Excel, pretty similar to what you'd see there. Some basic functions. We have our rows here, which are the vertical ones, vertical line columns here, verticals, I should say, or horizontal. I keep saying vertical. And you can select. So I have a cell selected. So I have A1 selected here. If you want to select more than one, you can just click your mouse and drag over. You'll start selecting more than one. And you see up here, it tells me that I have A1 through C1 cells selected. So I have this first row selected. You can also, another way to do it is you can click it, hold shift, and then use an arrow key, and you could select that way. And same thing with columns. If you wanted to click a cell and go down, you can click and drag or use the arrow. For one quick trick, if you want to select an entire column, if you just click the A, it will select the whole thing. So that's something that I use pretty often. All right, so let's see your name. Another thing I want to talk about quickly are the sheets. So if you see down here, it says sheet 1. So what you do, if you click this little add sheet button, it creates kind of a blank page for you. So it has sheet 1 and sheet 2. So this is kind of a useful feature if you're working with lots of different data and you don't want to have an entirely new document. You can have a blank sheet. I think you can have as many as you want for every document, and you can also rename these sheets too. So if I wanted to rename this, I can name it 2 if I wanted to, but you can keep adding those and you can have a lot of sheets for every document. And up here, so let's see, you have a pretty standard formatting toolbar here. For example, if you wanted to bold this top row, you could select the top and then click the B, and that will bold them. Nope, no, it didn't work, did it? There we go. There, so now those ones are bold. You could also change the color here if you wanted to make it red. You could also change the background there, turn them yellow. So all kinds of different formatting options there. You're probably pretty used to seeing those. But some other useful functions I find are the freeze function. So let's say you want to play with this data and manipulate a little bit. Well, you don't want to manipulate this because this is kind of what your data header, this is your data header row. So what you do is just click right here and then we'll highlight the whole row. And then click view, freeze, and then click one row. So what that's going to do is see that little gray bar that appeared? That's going to freeze that one row. So when we start manipulating the data, it won't actually change that. So for example, let's say we want to sort this data by how many calls were made. The first thing you do is you select the data just like this. So all I did was click the volunteer cell and I dragged my mouse down diagonally, and then you can select rows and columns at the same time. So all I did was select the data that way. Then let's see here. So data. So let's see, I'm going to do sort range. And so I'm going to tell it that my data has a header row, which is this yellow row right here. So as soon as I do that, so this box changed. So before it was asking me for columns, but now it's actually using my names that I made. So we just select sort by calls made and A to Z. So it's first to, I think it's going to be lowest to highest. Oh, and it was already sorted that way. Let's sort it a different way just so I can show you. Senior format. Oops, sorry. Data. Let's do backwards. So you can see it changed the order of the data, but it left this row in place. So it didn't change this row at all. So this is one way you can manipulate it. Another useful feature I find, if I can get this thing out of my way. Okay, is if you look, as I select these, so I just click the 56 and I'm just dragging down these cells to select all those cells. But if you look on the bottom right here, you'll see it automatically add them up for me. It says sum of 170. So I could write a formula if I wanted to sum those cells for me. But because it's such a common function, they have a kind of a shortcut here for us. So if you click that, it allows you to select what you want us to have. So this is an average. So if average is something you deal with a lot, maybe I want to see what the average is. So the average would be 34 in that case. So all kinds of different ways you can manipulate the data there. And those are really some basic functions, but as you can see, we have the same kind of sharing menu that we have with Docs. It looks exactly the same. So we can copy the link and we can share it in emails to collaborate just like we would with Google Docs. I also wanted to mention when you share something, you could share it that way. This is where you have the settings set up, but you can also just click the toolbar and copy that link, that same link, and link that to an email or anything else you wanted to share. Let's see. And another quick thing I wanted to mention is when you're sharing, you'll be able to select whether you want the people viewing the document to be able to make edits. Like sometimes you might just want to show them the data without giving them the opportunity to edit the spreadsheet you worked so hard to build. Other times you might want their help editing the spreadsheet, but there's kind of an in-between thing you can do with these, which I find useful sometimes. And that's you can select certain rows or certain columns, excuse me, or whatever the case may be, and you can protect those within Sheets. I'm not going to go through the whole process right now because it takes a little bit, but it's just kind of a cool function because that way, for some reason, if you want to protect, let's say you want to protect your data headers right here, you could protect that so people could edit the spreadsheet, but they couldn't edit the whole thing. So they know if you work really hard to format a spreadsheet, you know your format won't get messed with and people can still put data in on their end as well. All right, get back here. All right, let's make sure we covered all this. We covered the sharing. I thought it'd be easier to kind of cover in the actual document itself. So that's really just a really high level overview. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything major. You should be pretty familiar with it. It's very similar to Microsoft Excel, and the functions in terms of sharing are very similar to the Docs application. That's a really high level overview, but definitely if you have any questions, let me know and I'll try to answer them at the end. Okay, I think I successfully stopped my share. All right, that's it for me.
All right, thanks, John. Can y'all see these slides? Google Calendar.
I see it.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, y'all. So we just learned a lot about Google Docs and Google Sheets, and now I'm going to teach you a little bit about Google Calendar. So you guessed it, it's a calendar, but virtual. Really, Google Calendar is really incredibly helpful for collaboration, like everything else on Google. As we've seen, it makes it really easy for us to be able to collaborate effectively, communicate on documents or spreadsheets, and Google Calendar is no different. It's really effective at helping us find times to meet with our colleagues, our friends, our family now that we're virtual, and it's linked directly to your email address, your Google address that you either just made or the one that you've had. So we're going to go ahead and try out Google Calendar. So you'll need to go to calendar.google.com and it will send you directly to your Google Calendar. John or Alexis, if you could put that link in the chat, that would be amazing. If you're already logged into your Google account, which I think you all are, it should pop up automatically.
Grabbing the link.
Yep.
It's
Okay, y'all.
pasted.
Thank you. So this is a picture of my calendar. And you'll be able to see what a calendar looks like virtually. It should look something like this. If you don't have anything on your calendar yet, that's a-okay. I'm going to teach you how to add things to your calendar. The first thing we'll do is create an event. So if you look at the presentation that I'm sharing right now, I have a Sharpie looking circle that's around the create button. Go ahead and click on that. That's how we'll create an event. You can also just click a time on your calendar too, but for this case, we'll just go through this. Okay. Now that we've clicked our create an event, we're going to go ahead and edit our event. So this is where you'll fill out all your information. You'll just be really careful where you put your date and time. I can't tell you the amount of times I've accidentally scheduled an event with a colleague at 2 o'clock in the morning by accident or something like that on Google Calendar. So just make sure you're paying close attention to that time and time zones if you work in an organization like Sierra Club that does business with a lot of folks all over the country. Time zones important there too. So you'll go ahead and edit your time and date in here, your location. That's an important feature. If you're having in-person meetings, this will help tell the other person where you're meeting. So if we're meeting at the coffee bar at the Alliance Center, you can put that address right in there. And if somebody clicks on it, it'll actually open up Google Maps to give them directions right there. So it's really helpful. You can put some information in the description section saying what the meeting is about. And then lastly, you'll be able to add Google Meets video conferencing to Google Meetings as well. So it'll be something similar to Zoom, but instead it's Google. So you can add that right to your calendar invite, and when folks pull it up, they'll just be able to click that button and all get into their virtual meeting together. Okay, I think the most important feature of Google Calendar is the guests feature. So I made a sample invite to the Google Suites training, and I added my 2 guests, John and Alexis, and I did that by editing the guest section that's in the upper right-hand corner. You can add other people's email addresses in there, or if you've already had a lot of conversations with them via email, they should pop automatically up when you start typing their name. After you have all your information in your Google Calendar event, you just want to make sure to click Save and think about if you want that event to be sent to your guests. Sometimes I will note that if you are editing an event in Google Calendar, you have the option when you save to send your guests a notification. If you're in there just editing a couple little things like adding an agenda or adding a couple notes in the description that you don't necessarily have to send folks an email blast about, you can decide to not email them, but it is always best practice to kind of update your attendees with things that you put into your calendar invite. Okay, this is our last piece here. So we'll teach you a couple useful things about subscribing to a calendar. So this is one of my favorite things about working at Sierra Club, is that it's really easy for us to schedule meetings with each other because we all use Google Calendar. And because I'm subscribed to my colleagues' calendars, it's easy for us to find times to meet with each other because we can automatically look at that on Google Calendar. So through this process, if you go under the My Calendars section and click the little arrow button, if you click on subscribe to a calendar, you can put your colleague, your friend, your family member, whoever's calendar in there, and you can actually have a setting where you can see their availability. So it makes it really easy to be able to schedule those meetings with all the folks that you want to meet with. The last thing I will touch on, and I've already touched on a little bit, is Google Meets. Again, you have the option to add this to all of your calendar invites. As we're living in a work from home stage right now, it's on all of our invites right now. And it's an option just so folks can easily join a meeting with Google Meets, which is essentially Google's version of Zoom. So you don't have to schedule it or anything like that. It'll just go right into the Google Meets. That's all I got on Google Calendar. Really recommend you trying this out with one of your loved ones. I was teaching my mom how to use Google Calendar a couple weeks ago, and just recommend, hopping on the phone and trying out sending each other some invites just so you get comfortable with it, because it can be a little wonky at first. So find a buddy and test it out. All right. So we just went over a lot, especially about Google, especially if you're not used to using Google. So we wanted to have an opportunity for folks to share some of the things that they learned. So if you'd like, please share one thing you learned from our presentation in the chat. We'll give it just a minute. Awesome. So we learned about Google Sheets, how to share a Google Doc and allow changes, accepting comments in docs. Yep. You can protect parts of your Google Sheet. Definitely. Okay, folks, we'll keep those coming in. I know we're about 2 minutes over, and I want to allow time for questions. So if you have a question about anything that we covered in the presentation, now is the time to bring it up. So feel free to come off mute and ask a question, and John, Alexis, and I will be here to help answer it.
I'm trying to figure out in Google Calendar how to send out email notifications. There's the add guests, but where do I send out the email notification?
You got it. So when you add your guest to it and you click save, there'll be a pop-up that says, do you want to send an email notification to those folks? And it'll automatically do it.
Thanks.
Yep. So if you want to try, send me a test invite and send it to sarah.clark@sierraclub.org, and I'll let you know if I get your email about our meeting. I'm getting an ask from Teresa. Can you show again how to go back to the original doc after it was changed?
Sure. So I'm gonna share my screen really quickly. Google Suites. Okay, so can you see my screen? Okay, so up here, there's this kind of light gray text. And you click here, and it has the version history. So you're able to select any one of those to revert back to it. So if we wanted to do that, I'd select it and then restore this version. Okay. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. That's the thing that always worries me the most is once it gets changed, how do we get back if we mess it up?
I can answer some of the Sheets questions. Let's see. Alexis, do you mind stopping your share and I can start one on my end?
Sure.
All right, let me see here. So making the cells larger. Okay, so let's see here. If you select the cell, so I just click that 27, the B5 cell, and there's a little square, and you see when your mouse goes over it, it turns into a little kind of cross. You probably can barely see that because this is kind of a small change, but as soon as it turns into that little cross, you could change, oops, you should be able to change the side of it. Or am I doing it wrong? This is how you change the width. That's helpful. But I should be able to change, oh, I see, yeah. So if you put your mouse in between these, whether it's a column or a row, you'll see it change into a little arrow, and then you can change the width there. And you should be able to do the same thing on the rows. There we go. So ignore the little cross. I'm not sure what I was doing there. That could be an Excel thing. But all you have to do is put your mouse in the little transition area between whether it's a cell or whether it's a column or whether a row, and then you can resize it there. Also saw a question about the protecting. You see I made that one really small. Protecting. So if you want, let's see here, if you go into data and then protected sheets and ranges, you click that, and then this will pop up on the right side. And then you can click add a sheet or a range. And a range is just a portion of the spreadsheet that you've selected. So for example, enter a description. Let me see. I think if I just do this, it's been a while since I've done this actually. Okay, let me delete this. You can type it, but if you select it with your mouse, it should automatically, okay, yeah. So see, as I selected this and started changing it, it's automatically changing it on the right. So it's saying in its own language, it's saying sheet 1, and it's saying B1 through B6. That's what I have selected here. And then click OK, and then set permissions. And then you can change who can actually make these changes. So you can just have one that shows a warning if you want people, so people can still make changes, but it warns them before, or you can restrict it to whatever you want to. You can do only you. You can do custom, where you select people who can actually put people's emails in here, and then only people with those email addresses can make changes. So really, it's pretty much unlimited in terms of what you can select and who you can have making changes. You can customize it as much as you like. All right. Okay. And I think that was the last. I think that was all the questions I saw for Sheets.
Yep, sounds good. Any other questions folks have? All right, y'all. Well, like Alexis said, we'll send around a recording of the training. So if you have anything you'd like to freshen up on, feel free to check it out. And also feel free to reach out to me, Alexis, or John anytime. We're happy to help you with any of your Google needs, and look forward to working with all of you in the future. So thanks so much.
Go.
Hope you all
Can
have
I
a good-
ask a quick question? So we have a lot of new volunteers coming in, and so this is all new to them, and they would need this training. Would you suggest that we use this video, or are you going to be having more of these classes pretty often, or how is that going to work?
I would suggest using the video. So we recorded all of this. I'd suggest sending it out. I think there's an opportunity for us to maybe do a Google Suites 102 course. There's still a lot of features of Google that we didn't even get a chance to touch on in this training that we might expand on later down the road, but right now don't have anything on the books.
Well, thank you. This is good.
Absolutely.
One last thing I realized I forgot to mention, but the cool thing about the Google Suite is, of course, it's owned by Google. And so if you don't know something and you Google it, it will almost immediately pop up. So the protected cell, I actually forgot how to do that, and I Googled it just before we talked about it. So anything you don't know, Google is really good about having help documents. It should be the first thing that pops up once you type in some keywords into Google.
Could you send out a copy of the slides with the recording?
Definitely.
Thanks.
Well, thank you, everyone. It's been great for you all to join us. Yeah, I appreciate it connecting, and we'll look forward, and feel free always to reach out with any questions that you might have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks so
Good
much.
night.
Take care.
Bye-bye.